Hi guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be playing with the Nouveau palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills. It's been a little while since I played with this one. I just did my collection tour and declutter video, which is live on my channel. If you want to see it, I can card it above for you. And in it, I noticed that this shade was starting to break, and I was just thinking, you know, I haven't played with it in a while. It's pretty. I like the looks I get from it. So let's do this. Let's do this today. I'm going to prime my eyes with the Glam Light Icing Primer. As usual, everything that I use is linked or at least mentioned in the description box. I wanted to talk today about Black Friday purchases. I remember, I think it was at the very beginning of 2024, I made a video talking about the palettes that I had gotten from the previous Black Friday. You know, everything had arrived and I had played with other things and I was ready to talk about the new stuff. Well, this Black Friday, I was really torn because there were honestly not great sales. I mean, there were a couple of brands or palettes that I was thinking I wanted, but I needed a good sale. And 25% is, brands will give you 20 to 30% off for their brand's birthday, for Labor Day, for Memorial Day, for the 4th of July, Christmas in July. These are sales that you get throughout the year. So it didn't feel special or very enticing at all. And I know I ended up seeing a lot of other content creators talking about that the sales prices weren't sales pricing. I Am Jamila made a video, I think Jen Phelps made a video, just saying, hey, you know, they're not that exciting. A lot of people I know just skipped Black Friday in general. I don't have a plan for today's look. I'm not really sure what I want to do. This palette is starting to look kind of dry, and I don't know if it's always been that way, or perhaps the palette's just getting a little bit older and it's starting to age. I'm going to take sort of a dense blending brush and pick up Liberty, and I think I'll just start that out here. I don't have a plan. We'll see where it goes. So I'd love to hear what you guys picked up for Black Friday, if anything. Did you boycott it entirely? Did you think that the sales were good? Did you find a brand that had a really great sale? I'll tell you what I was looking at. I mainly was looking at Ensley Rain because after having used the Cold Moon palette, I realized, wow, they have such an amazing formula and I'd love to own more from them. But, you know, they're so expensive. They're so expensive. I really wanted the Flutter palette and it's currently on sale. And then the Black Friday, there was a Black Friday code that you could stack on top. But then shipping was about $13. And I mean, that's the whole discount right there. You're almost paying full price for the palette by the time you're done with shipping and taxes. And let me just clarify, I'm not cheap. I like quality things. I have some quality things. I appreciate good quality. But my husband's in school and most of our money goes to keeping up with those bills so that we're not ending up in a lot of debt. And on the whole, I just don't have a lot of spending money. So it's not that I'm cheap and I just want to find the best deal. It's more that this is a hobby and I am not going to be reckless with our family finances and just go spend all the money because I want some colored powder. So I need to find good deals, and I love the Ensley Rain quality, but their prices are hard to justify. Now let me get, I guess I'll get Paloma. Seems to be the obvious choice. Let me start it here. Just lighten this area a bit, and then I'll use it to buff and soften the green color that I laid down. Anyway, so I really wanted Flutter, and I almost bought it a couple of times. It was in my car. I was waiting for the actual Black Friday discount to be valid so that I could stack it on top of the sales price. And then I chatted with a couple of subscribers on Instagram, and one of them kind of talked me out of buying Flutter, even though she also got it at the sales price. I did have some reservations, and my own reservations were that I have the Cold Moon palette, and the more I look at Ensley Rain palettes, the more I feel that if you want any of their cool toned palettes with cool toned colors, those colors pretty much more or less exist in the Cold Moon palette. That's like a bigger version of all their cool tone offerings. Now, the Flutter palette wasn't just cool toned, but probably 50% of it was really similar to what's in Cold Moon. And I was thinking, well, in that case, well, I'm just drowning this color entirely. I'm gonna have to, why did I do this? I thought in that case, I would just be, I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure out this eye look. I wasn't expecting the Paloma shade to totally drown out the green, and now I'm actually having a little bit of trouble blending it. There's a ton of kick up. I'm sorry, I'm having a really hard time blending out this color. It's just sort of stuck and not doing anything. I wasn't expecting to struggle with this palette today, and I'm losing the color itself. What was I saying? Oh, I was saying about the palette. I felt like about half of it was already in Cold Moon, which I own, so at the end of the day I would be paying for a couple of different matte colors, but they're matte colors that I have in other brands, so that felt silly. Then I thought, well, how about I look at the Flourish, which is the counterpart from that collection and also on sale. But I thought Flourish just looked way too much like the Udensai Planet Spirit palette, which I owned and decluttered because it was a color story I never used. And Flutter looks like the Udensai Flora Story palette, which is also one which I owned and decluttered. But I didn't declutter that one because of color story, I decluttered that one because I was having trouble with the formula. As I am with this. What is happening here? Oof. Might have to add this palette to my declutter. This is unexpected. Okay, moving on. Then, because I was kind of stuck on Ensley Rain, thinking I just want to take advantage of a sale and get a great quality eyeshadow formula. Then I thought, well, what else do they have? And so I found myself looking at their new little 6 pans, the Enchanted Forest line. They've got Nutty by Nature, and they've got Hoppy, something Hoppy. It's cute. They're both cute. And I put one of those in my cart and I applied the code. I'm like, okay, I can do that, you know. But then I stopped myself and I remembered a comment that I'd seen on somebody's video about the pricing of indie palettes and how they had done the math to figure out how much you were paying per shade. And I thought, you know what, that's clever. We get all caught up in the color story and the formula and the presentation and the looks and the palettes and the packaging, but what's the cost per shade? And it turns out that the 6 pans from Ensley Rain, price per shade, are more than any other of the Ensley Rain palettes. I mean, I understand you're gonna pay more for the smaller quantity in general, but I didn't think that that applied to eyeshadow palettes because Ensley Rain charges so much because of the multi-chromes that they offer. And these little 6 pans only have 1 or 2 special shades in them. So I think it might be a little bit of a trick there. I don't know. Anyway, I went back and forth and I way overanalyzed, as I typically do. And I talked to some people, and meanwhile, as I mentioned in my recent declutter video, I have a different project brewing in the back of my mind. And I'm not ready to talk about it here on the channel, but it's just something I'm thinking about. Let's swatch some shimmers. This is the prettiest in the palette. This is the Lily shimmer. It's so lovely. This is Belle. Here's Hope. Let's put Hope right here, just at the center of the eyelid, kind of keeping with the monochromatic theme. And Bella's gonna blend in way too much. There's the Wings shimmer, which is this one. Boring. I think we'll stick with Lily, just to keep things interesting. Other brands that I was looking at were Glamlight. I thought, well, what is Glamlight? I stopped following them on Instagram because I really have not enjoyed any of their recent collaborations. And I also have been tempted a few times to get the Betty Boop palette and the Garfield palette. I've heard that they're both fantastic, but I just know myself. At this point, I know myself well enough when it comes to eyeshadow palettes. The packaging is going to be enough to make me not want to use them. The Betty Boop palette has some really gorgeous shades, and they're not all pink and red. It has some gorgeous neutrals as well. But the packaging is so red and so in your face with that one color. Everything else suffers. I can't see the colors because of the packaging. And then the Glamlight palette is kind of similar to a few others that I have, so I didn't feel that one made sense to get, but I looked. Unsurprisingly, now I have to go into this purple matte because it's just so pretty. It's called Wisteria. It's lovely. And let's just put that on the lower lash line. And the inner corner, because it's gorgeous. Look at that. What a lovely color. What else did I look at? I looked at Simply Posh, but by the time I kind of halfway thought maybe I'd make a decision, their palettes were sold out. I looked at Cosmic Brushes for the Undergrowth palette, but I really like my Stone and Rock from Wooden's Eye, and that feels like it's the same thing as Undergrowth, minus a couple of shades. I can't quite justify that one, even though Undergrowth is lovely. And I looked at Gourmand Girls, but the ones I wanted were sold out. So I did consider some other brands. Ensley Rain was kind of the one I had my heart set on, and for the last couple of months I've been planning on trying to get the Flutter palette with Black Friday sales, but I decided that it wasn't gonna happen. I'm gonna take Wisteria and drag it the whole length because it's so glowy and pretty. I did end up making a couple small purchases, and they have to do with this. There's powder in my eye. Muse on a flat or smudger brush. The purchases that I did make have to do with this new project that I'm considering. I got a few things that would help me get started with it to see if I like it. And if you have any guesses what you think that might be, drop it in the comments, because I'm curious if you guys can figure it out before I make an announcement. But anyway, I think the few purchases that I made toward this project were about what I would have spent for any one of these palettes or brands that I've mentioned. And I felt good about that. It just felt like a better use of my money, because if the brands weren't giving us crazy good sales, and then if there's a palette that I really wanted that I didn't pick up on Black Friday, chances are that in a year it's going to be available for an even steeper discount because they will have released new things. By the way, the Ensley Rain Light in Your Eyes, their newest release, that one looks great. That one looks like a beautiful mix of cool tones, warm tones, neutrals, and colors, and also a reasonable assortment of mattes and shimmers, like the actual colors within the palette without being crazy. It looks really good. So maybe in a year or two, I'll pick that up at much cheaper or find a secondhand, although I doubt it because it seems that Ensley Rain really holds their price on the secondhand market. I decided to do a little bit of graphic liner with my Artitude Cosmetics graphic liner, water activated liner palette. Sorry, words escaped me. And I wanted to tell you the other main reason that I didn't want to spend much money on Black Friday. It was because my husband and I just bought ourselves a bed. And let me give you a little bit of background here while I think I'll put a few dots. This is like the purple color. So we've been married for almost 15 years, and in all of that time, we've only ever had mattresses that were pretty much like pretty cheap, you know, $200 to $300 mattresses that die after 2 years. They get these big pits in the center and they're just trash and they're uncomfortable and nobody sleeps well. And then we never have enough money to get a really good quality mattress, so we buy another $200 or $300 mattress and repeat the cycle. One time in our marriage, when we first got married, we went on probably Facebook Marketplace and got a bed frame, like an actual headboard and footboard. Was there a footboard? I think it was just a headboard. And then when we moved to the next place we lived, it didn't fit. So we got rid of it. We also couldn't fit our box spring that just sits on top of the frame and the mattress goes on top of the base. We couldn't fit that in our new house because it had a really tight stairwell. So we had to throw that away. So the rest of our marriage, we just have had a mattress sitting on a piece of plywood or 2 pieces of plywood on top of the metal frame. And then a couple of weeks ago, should I put a few dots out here? Why not, right? Let me refresh my paintbrush. A couple of weeks ago, once stores started having Black Friday sales, because you know they start like right after Halloween now, we went to a furniture place, and we went all out. We financed, but there was nothing else financed. Like all our other financed things were paid off except for our car. So we went all out. We got a real mattress, like a good quality mattress. We got a bed frame that's adjustable. So it's like lowest level adjustable, but it's got the head and the feet that can move around. We got new linens, new high quality pillows, like the fancy pillows. And we also got an actual, this was secondhand off of, again, Marketplace, but an actual bed frame with a headboard, a footboard, and even side rails. Super exciting, right? I know, super exciting. So that was the other main reason. I wasn't really gonna be getting much at Black Friday because we had just kind of spent a lot to treat ourselves with a good night's sleep for the next many years. And that's important. It's important, and it was a gift that we could enjoy together, and it was an investment. Like I said, we financed it. The financing was great because it was 0% for whatever term you wanted, and as long as you pay it off within that term, you don't get hit with any interest at all. So you can just choose your term, choose your monthly payment, and everything was fine. A little bit of highlighter from my Anastasia Beverly Hills palette. I think I'll pick up these two. I forgot to mention, when we moved to this house where we currently are, we were sleeping on an air mattress. So we've been sleeping on an air mattress since May. And it was just, I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back, or the air mattress that was breaking our backs. Neither of us was getting any sleep, and yeah, so now we have a guest bed. Now our air mattress is a guest bed. Okay, that's the whole look. I did add something to my lips, so let me give you a rundown of everything that I used. You already know I have this of everything that I used that I haven't mentioned yet. I started the video with a lip oil, the Glow Reviver from e.l.f. in the shade Pink Quartz, but I have since finished it with this glowing lip from ColourPop. It's all wearing off. Oh, the Candy Kisses. It's Candy Kisses. And then I do have the Dolce Pink blush from Milani. And that's everything, right? No, not everything. I put brown in my waterline and I have mascara on. That's everything. This video is kind of all over the place. I'm sorry. I should have been a little bit more organized, but can't win them all. Anyway, I think the eye look is pretty. However, it's not something that I can't achieve with other palettes in my collection, and I'm kind of unhappy now with how this is performing. I found all of the mattes to be quite dry and very crumbly. I really like these two shades, and I like this one as well. But everything else, I think, it's not really doing it for me anymore. So I might add this to my declutter pile. And as far as my declutter goes, I just have to say that the Nouveau palette experience is a perfect example of why I'm probably going to do either a no buy or a, limit myself to a certain number of palettes for 2025. Because here I am using a palette that no longer excites me and has formula that's probably just aging. I mean, it was never incredible to begin with, but I've always liked that palette and I've liked the looks I've gotten from it, but this is like not such a great experience. And I feel like the whole palette is just getting dusty. But I'm sitting here using that palette when I have other palettes in my collection, which I love, and they are still performing at peak. So it just feels silly when you have so many things that you are spoiled for choice and maybe even paralyzed by choice, and you end up using things that you don't love while the things that you do love slowly go bad. And I'm not interested in that. I feel like if I had bought this palette and this were my only eyeshadow palette, I could use this every day for a year and really get my money's worth, really to get out of the product what I've paid into the product. But as it is, I've used this maybe 10 times since I've owned it, and it's already showing me that it's starting to fail. I haven't gotten my money's worth out of this. I haven't even gotten a reasonable fraction of the money out of the palette which I've put into it. And that's what I'm saying. I have so many beautiful eyeshadow palettes. I thought that the palettes I own were good enough to spend my money, and I have enjoyed them. And I just did a declutter where I got rid of a fifth of my collection because it didn't delight and excite me. It's time to use what does and stop hankering after the newest thing, which is gonna end up like all the other things, sitting on my shelf, slowly going bad. It just, you know what I mean? I know. End of rant. I will dismount from my soapbox and I will let you guys go. Thank you so much for being here today. Let me know what you think about the eyeshadow look. I do like it. It's just not, it was a little bit too hard to get here, honestly, especially with like the powdery shadows and the ones that didn't want to blend, and then like the one shadow totally drowned in the other, but then I couldn't build it up. I think it's time to let go of the Nouveau palette and just enjoy what I have that is still in great shape. I appreciate you being here. Perhaps you'll consider liking and subscribing if you want to see more content like this. I do have lots of videos on my channel, and I look forward to chatting with you in my next one. Bye guys. Thank you.